Whoa, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Huddle, where we come at you every week to discuss maintaining forward progress in your flooring career. Really, just about any business this applies to. But today, joining me is Daniel, at least for the moment.
For right now.
So we're going to talk about setting realistic goals. It's something I've worked on a lot in my life. Thought I'd get your guys' perspective, but the reason this is our businesses in construction really require goals, even if they're daily project goals or financial goals or growth goals. I've had the pleasure of being mentored by some of the leading entrepreneurs in the United States on this matter. I have not perfected it even close, but I know what they say and I know what I try to do as much as possible. So I thought I'd share that and then get your guys' take on what you guys kind of do, from that perspective. So just to start off, I would say that a lot of people will tell you to, set realistic goals. And that's kind of what we talked about in our title, but it's a little catch-22 there. Short-term goals or, weekly, monthly, even yearly, you may want realistic, but at the end of the day, when you're looking at a big vision, you really want something that's going to drive you, it's going to challenge you, and really hold your feet to the fire. The idea, and there's a lot of confluence, a lot of people that believe in this way. If you're aiming for the stars, you'll hit the moon type scenario, right? Like you may not hit that goal, although you try like hell. The truth is you might not hit it, but you don't know where your limit is if you always have a goal that you can reach and you'll reach and you hit that and then you go to the next one. While that will move you forward, it's not going to slingshot you. So that's kind of the premise here. I like to set annual goals for the company and for myself. But then on a day-to-day basis, we have project goals, like day-to-day, what you are trying to get done in a given day with a given crew or for your own crew. Those types of things need to be highly realistic because you got to, obviously that information gets shared to your client, to the general contractor, or maybe the end user you may be working for. So that's almost like to-dos, but they're still goals, right? You want them to be realistic. When you're talking about big financial goals, I make them scary. Sometimes they're impossible to hit. At least that's what I think in the beginning. A lot of times you get a lot closer than you probably imagined. So setting big goals and dreaming big, I'm a big proponent of, and then breaking that down into actionable steps that you can take on a daily or weekly basis to make sure you're moving towards that goal. And your ability to execute on your daily or weekly tasks or goals that move you to your big goal determine if you make it. And so that's kind of how I've approached it. I'll give some examples maybe here in this call about a few different goals, that how I set them and how I reached them. But what do you guys do on your side? I'm speaking mostly business, but personal is important too, because there's a balance to all this.
Yeah. For our goals, like especially lately, it's been small ones, right? Just being able to write things down and go through the list and getting daily stuff done has been a struggle for a long time. So, I mean, got Post-it notes everywhere to remind myself. I got books everywhere you gotta, that's a goal of mine, is to get more organized and to actually stay on task. And without writing stuff down like that, it's real easy to get on some tangents and just not even realize, how much time is lost in a day when you don't stay on task. As
Well,
far as, go
that's
ahead.
a big piece of it, right? Is writing them down, writing your big goals down, but then breaking them down. And when I say big goals, they could be big tasks. Andy Frisella, I've had the pleasure of being mentored by him. And one of his things is like, what are the 5 most important things you can do today that move you closer to your long-term vision? And if you can do those 5 things every day, and then obviously you're going to have these ancillary tasks that come up and creep onto your to-do list. But these 5 things, the power list, as he calls it, that is the way you continue to keep forward motion or forward progress towards a bigger goal. So if my goal was to be an XYZ sized company, then I break that down into actionable steps. And then what 5 things can I do on a daily basis? What phone calls,
Right.
emails, or whatever. So, and then keeping your to-do list that keeps you on task for all your daily tasks. This is kind of on the almost separate from that, although they can play together. But yeah, writing, I guess I was just saying writing them down is huge.
Yeah, and like you said, it's almost you want to get the big picture type stuff, right? And set that goal and then almost reverse engineer that into, all right, this is my goal. What steps do I need to get there? And then break those steps down further all the way down to your daily task. So that way you're always following something to get to your goal. So Roland is on Facebook right now, and he asks if we feel that goals and self-drive go side by side.
I think you got to have some internal motivation to set goals. If you go up to the average person, it's like 1 in every 10 to 15 people even have written goals. So and there's other studies that show it's like 1 in 100. So yeah, I think you got to be somewhat motivated, self-motivated to write them down. And then of course, we're talking owners to owners here. Who's gonna make you do it? It's got to be you. Roland's the same way. He's in his own, he's a head honcho, man. Who's gonna make him do those things? It's him. It's your self drive and your self motivation. So that's a good question and a good insight if you think about it, because it kind of tells you what may be missing in a lot of people's ability to log their goals and follow. I'll be 100% transparent. I haven't written my goals down in 6 months. I'm really ashamed of it. I'm sitting here doing a podcast about writing down goals, but I have seen the power of it. I've done it for years and years and years, but I can also tell you from not doing it the way that I've done it in the past for the last, 4 to 6 months or something, I can see a difference. I'm not achieving the things. I'm not taking those steps. And it's like taking a ladder. If you have your goals written down and you're doing this kind of daily ritual of like trying to get those 5 things done that'll move you closer to your goal, you all of a sudden you look and you skipped a few rungs. You're up the ladder higher than what you thought, closer to your goal. So I can tell you from both practicing it and then have lacking the self-discipline or that's all it really is, and doing it this last 4 to 6 months, something like that.
Yeah, I think that, you have to really be motivated in order to want to get somewhere else. A lot of the people, stay where they're at because although they want to get there, they have no motivation to get there, right? They just want to get their 8 and skate, so to speak.
Do you think they want to get there, or do they want to get the rewards of being there?
a lot of it has to do with the whole human nature of, you know, wanting that instant gratification, right? And it's, why can't I just start working here and in 6 months make as much money as the best installer? Well, you're not as good as that best installer, so you got some work to do. And they see from the outside looking in, you see, wow, they're great, but they don't see the 20 years that they put in order to get to where they're at. They just want to be, boom, let me start doing this and be as good as you. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some people that come in and, you know, a couple months down the road, you're like, man, this dude is,
Surprise you.
person is moving.
Yeah. Well, I asked that question because I think there's a lot of people that are stuck in the social media world, and you know, I'm on social media. I use it as a tool, sometimes for entertainment as well, but I don't look at somebody who has, you know, that's maybe has a lifestyle or something that would be appealing to me and say, ooh, man, I want that. And I don't, but I don't want to do the work to get there, but I want that. You know, I realize the effort that goes behind things, and that being lucky is kind of, there's an element of luck to just about everything, but it's pretty small. Really, what I've learned is luck is really when preparedness meets opportunity. You know, when you have an opportunity and you're prepared, and then a couple of years later, you look lucky. I mean, it looks like, dude, this guy went from this to that all of a sudden. Well, what about the other 18 years it took to get ready and then be open to the opportunity? So I think a lot of that is you know, has to be considered if you're looking at that stuff. I wouldn't get motivated by things, get motivated by accomplishment of your tasks and your goals, because that usually leads to the lifestyle that you want.
Yeah, I watch a lot of documentaries, right? I don't think my kids and my wife love it, but anytime I'm actually watching TV, it's on a documentary and I'm actually learning something. And like, it's crazy the way, like, even, you know, the rock stars that we look at and the famous singers and stuff out there, you watch their documentaries and that's what they say, you know, they had a goal in mind and they wanted to do anything they could do to get there. And you really don't see the struggles that they went through until you watch something like that. And it's like, man, this dude was just brushed off by everyone and he never quit.
Yeah.
Because he seen that goal and he wasn't going to stop until he got there, right?
Yeah, it's like that Harry Potter book, right? I think she got like denied by 10 or 12 publishers or whatever before someone either took a chance on her. I can't remember if she self-published it or what, but I remember reading a story that she was denied by like multiple.
Everyone, yeah.
Yeah. And they thought, and look at that thing made her a billionaire, you know, that one storyline turned into the saga of, you know, Harry Potter.
Stuff is still coming out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say don't quit. But, you know, when I'm writing goals, you know, and I'm really motivated, here I am sitting talking about goals. I'm motivated to restart my ritual of a daily. I still have my power list. I have the 5 things, but it's kind of like the ship in the harbor without a route or a captain. Like, if I don't have a goal, I'm just kind of doing stuff. And even though they seem important at the time, if I'm not aimed at something, then the likelihood of getting there is you know, nearly impossible. So having a goal is like having that target, or having GPS coordinates to a, you know, from where you are to where you want to be. That's what your goal provides, is gives you the 2 points.
The best thing about the goal too is you're working towards it. And if you set a timeline and you don't hit that, you can always reformulate what you're doing in order to still try and get that. You just reformulate your steps and keep that goal. And I think that's what we've been doing for the past few years. It's like, we have a vision of where we want to be, but in order to get there, it's been a lot of, this.
Mm-hmm.
And every time that, for the past, I want to say 4 or 5 years, that we felt, all right, now we're finally making momentum. We hired this person. This person's going to put us to the next level to where we can get this accomplished. And then what happens? They're gone and you're back at square one, and you just gotta pick up the pieces and say, all right, well, this is still going to be my goal, but it's going to be a different route to get there at this point.
Yeah, and you can evaluate what went wrong or what went right, and kind of double down on the things that went
Yeah.
right.
And you got to look at things from a different perspective too, right? Because when these things happen, it seems like, man, you're so devastated. This sucked. I spent so much time on this. And then like a couple years down the road, not even that long, sometimes it's like, I'm kind of happy that happened because it wouldn't have worked out in the long run anyways. So that was probably for the best.
Yeah. Well, and goals are they're a little bit like I said, they're kind of a target. They're a little how do I say this? They should be inspiring, almost unachievable sometimes. But when you look back and you say, where did I start? At least you moved, forward towards that goal. And even if things didn't go right and you absolutely achieved it, you know, um, kind of evaluating the areas, like I said, that you had a really good response or a good outcome, and then kind of doubling down on that. And failure, kind of one of the biggest pieces of this is, don't look at failure as a bad thing. Look at that as a lesson of what not to do next time. That's easy to say, right? But if you look at people who've done really great things, they failed their way to success. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, that story is probably fresh on. I mean, most people know about it, but he basically said, I didn't, he didn't fail 10,000 times when he was inventing, the light bulb or whatever. He found 10,000 ways it didn't work, and he
Right.
found that, you know what I mean? So he took the failure as a lesson on just that didn't work. So the next thing something will work. So you got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. It takes perseverance a lot of times. So, and that's probably what Roland, I would think, a little bit of insight on that as well, is that, his goals, it takes self-motivation, but it also takes that perseverance. It takes motivate or self-discipline just to get started. It really takes a lot of perseverance to keep going when you get kicked. And
Right.
you will get kicked, like you just said. You had a guy that started and everything was looking good, and you thought things were going to go, taking this thing to the next level, and next thing you know, that guy's gone. So what can you change next time to either not depend on that person for it, or is it a different person? You got a lot of lessons you can learn from that, and you probably have. So
We have. And then on the flip side of kind of like pushing, Roland asks if you feel like someone can get to a point where they're happy with the place they've gotten to and feel like they've actually hit their ultimate goal already.
yeah, that's a great question. That's probably uh, the $1 million question. Is, I think it really depends on your personality. High achievers, generally they get somewhere and they're like, I enjoyed the journey there more than I did getting there than being there. And they create another goal or another, they have another thing in their head that they're going to go after. Um, those people, I don't know many people that get to accomplish a big goal in their life. Maybe it's to have $100,000 in the bank or something. And then they're like, okay, well, now I'll quit saving or something. They look at it and they're like, I did that. And that motivates them to go ahead and set that next goal. And and I just use that as an analogy, but whatever it is, a lot of times once you get there, you're going to set another one, because you now know for a fact you can achieve stuff, especially if you're young and you're setting goals and you're, a teenager or you're in your low 20s and you're setting a goal and you actually get to that spot. It's very unlikely you're going to stop there. So I don't know. I think that's a personal person by person thing, but from just knowing a lot of high achievers, I would tell you that most of the time they get to that, they reach that goal and they either already have another one set, or they get the confidence, especially if you're new to it. I'll tell you that if you're new to it and you reach that first goal of whatever that is, that seems big to you at the time, and you're like, shit, I did it. Why not set another one,
Right. And I think like we've had multiple different goals on, different levels. We have the business goals and then industry goals and stuff like that. And it was probably around 4 years ago or something like that, Jose and I were talking, and it's like, the ultimate industry goal is to leave the industry better than when we came in. And I forget who it was, but someone asked me if I felt like I've already achieved that goal. I said, I mean, if I feel like the industry still has a lot of work to do, but I still feel like our presence in the industry has already left it better than it was when we got here.
Yeah. And that's where, what's up, Jose?
What's up? I was there, but nobody could see or hear me. So,
Well, now you're in frame.
yeah.
Well, when you're talking about, the goal of leaving the industry better than the way you found it, if you get real specific on what you're trying to do, that's when you've hit it. You've already left the industry, you've already made a big impact. You guys both have made a big impact on the industry. What I would say is setting something like solving this XYZ problem, whatever, maybe higher installer pay or whatever the deal is. That's just an example, but whatever that is, then you have a real concrete, specific item that you can know for a fact, like it's almost like an epiphany that you've reached it. But that's a huge goal, though, that you guys set. Like, you're talking about impacting the entire industry, and a lot of people think our industry is small. It's probably it's the biggest small industry I know of, meaning it's bigger than most people realize. It like 20 something billion dollars of sales in material goods, but then you add labor in there at about 15 billion, and now overall you're at like a 35 to 40 billion dollar industry. So the fact that our industry is still so small, though, from a organization standpoint, we have a lot of access to people that, if you were in aerospace, to go sit down with as a machinist, to go sit down with the president of Boeing or something is unlikely, highly unlikely. But I've sat down multiple times, and I know you guys have, and I know plenty of other installers who have sat down with CEOs of the carpet mills that run billion-dollar businesses. So I think as an industry, we're a big, small industry. But your goal to impact it in a positive way, that's a hell of a goal. And I applaud you guys for going after that. And I share some of, and a lot of those same aspirations, is to help the industry heal in a lot of ways and solve a lot of the communication and labor issues. Those are big, audacious goals to solve, and takes a lot of perseverance. And you guys are a part of that, as you know. But yeah, reaching for the stars, you may fall short, but you do get there, and you do move forward if you're consistently trying on a daily
Right.
basis.
And that's where we're at. As long as we're moving forward with it and we're not gonna stop doing what we're doing, and who's to say that later on after we're gone, they look back and they're like, they really didn't do that much, but hey, at least we tried, right?
I doubt that.
A drop in the bucket, it's still a drop in the bucket, right? It's one drop closer to filling that bucket up, and that's really all that matters. And sorry I came in late, guys. I really was there. I just didn't have any like options to speak where I was at. I was having I think I just joined a little bit later than I needed to. But I'm sorry to backtrack too, as I want to go back on a couple of things like the goals and all that. Like I just had a conversation with my nephew last week or the week before about goals. He's like, yeah, I'm setting up goals. And so I broke it down a little bit different for him. I said, how about instead of setting up goals, you just create milestones? He was like, why? I said, because if you don't achieve your goal, then you're going to be like, oh, I failed. And I'm like, you shouldn't view it like that, right? Because some people are a little bit different. If they set milestones and on the way to that milestone, they get sidetracked or have to make a lateral movement, they didn't fail at their goal. Their milestone just changed, right? Either changed in length of time or changed as the description changed, and they'll get back to it. Or they can hit a milestone and then split in two different directions. So that's my little 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a right or wrong way to look at it. I would say that, you got to be cautious and self-aware enough to make sure you're not shortchanging yourself in those instances where you don't reach a goal and then you get to a certain milestone and then you take a different path. As long as you're not taking the easier path because it's easier, but you're taking the other path because it's more effective in getting to your goal.
There's an easy path.
Sometimes, or at least it seems easy.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
Usually the ones that are too good to be true. That's because it really is too good to be true.
Yeah, I thought I had a rich uncle in freaking Scotland that $14 million was supposed to give me. At least I got that fax last week.
Right. The email that they found $14 million in a government account that has your name on it.
Yeah, all they need your bank account. All they need your bank account information, and they'll forward that straight to you. Signature in a bank account.
Everlasting Installations is on here. He says that whenever he clears every time he clears a goal off the vision board, that's his motivation to set that next goal. Like we were talking about earlier. All right, I hit this. Now it's time to get this next one. And I can see that, right? Because that's that self-motivation.
Yeah. And vision boards are cool because you take the time to do one. They keep that, especially with men. I'm not trying to separate us, but men are just very visual creatures, and it works for women too. Don't get me wrong. But it's just like, as a guy, you're very visual stimulus, right? I mean, we're the main buyers of exotic cars for a reason. We're main buyers of, these Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff, because visually we're motivated by that kind of thing. So vision board's cool because it keeps it right out in front of you. That's cool to hear someone's keeping a vision board.
Yeah, Crystal actually has us all putting our own personal vision boards together, and we're putting them on a bigger board out in the warehouse, because she wants these guys to realize that you should set some goals. You should have some motivation in what you do somewhere. And I think she's getting a little bit of pushback right now.
Well, that's cool. That's leadership right there.
Yeah, she's a great leader, man. And you know what? And I missed the memo on getting that done, but she gave me everything this morning to get going.
Someone was on vacation.
How dare you?
I know. I got to pay more. I got to be better than that.
Well, that's pretty cool. You guys are doing that and combining them as a team. It sounds like she's encouraging everybody at your company to do that, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
She wants everyone to do it so that way we can actually point out how alike some of our goals and
Just our hobbies, just
Yeah,
life in
just-
general. It's just, it's gonna bring it all together. It's gonna
That
make
should
it
be a
more
good
fun.
team building thing, as well as like helping others, achieve their goals. So
Yeah,
yeah,
there's-
kudos there. That's a good idea. I might have to steal that, take some pictures and send
it's
them.
trademarked already, sorry.
Yeah, just I guess in closing here, for me anyway, I just want people to realize that failure is not failure, really. It's just a lesson. There's a lot of these times when we feel like a failure. Just got to check yourself. Today's been a really rough day for me, actually. In a lot of ways, it was, we got a big kick in the old keister with, a couple of our long-term guys, one of them retiring, one of them moving on to another company, total different industry, in fact, which we kind of sad to lose him from the industry, let alone our company. But with all that, we have, a lot of pressure then stacked upon the remaining people. Keeping a positive outlook, even when things don't work out or when something falls back. I'm working on a big deal you guys know about that we're having some complications with, and it's just this little piece that's keeping the whole train from moving. And, the goal is clear, and we just kind of keep getting notched down. I'm not going to give up. We're going to persevere. We'll get through it and get the problem solved. But I think it's got a lot to do with staying with something, even when you get. It may seem like a failure, but it's just a short setback. If you're taking 2 or 3 steps up and you take 1 back down, you're still 2 steps ahead, right? So just keep going, just keep pushing. So don't look at failure as like this ending thing. It's a lesson.
Hey, failure is the foundation of success. So it's the only way that you can actually put it all together and make sense of the finished product. I'd really hate for me to experience success without failing, because then the steps and the effort to get there is unknown. Like, I'm just there. How? If something goes wrong, I won't know how to fix it.
Yeah, I've heard it said that, like, failure is like a setback should only be considered a failure, or is only considered a failure when you accept it as one. So if you feel like it's a failure, that's when it's failure. It's not that the item or the event itself's a failure. You're giving it that label. It's just a setback, just something you got to overcome. So if you just keep that positive mindset going, and this might sound a little foo-foo, but this is true. You just got to keep going sometimes and not accept it as a failure, accept it as a lesson, and keep driving forward. And that's even in like your kids' sporting events. Your son throws a game that he wasn't super proud of. Well, there's some lessons in there. He shouldn't come off the mound feeling like a complete failure. There's just some lessons there that he can learn and get better. One of our,
Right.
we just adopted 3 kids, and one of them's playing football, and he didn't get the position he wanted, on the team. He wanted to be one of the skilled positions, running back and wide receiver or something. And he's a defensive end and an offensive end, and that's not a failure. He's on the team, first off. Secondly, he's going to get better just playing that position, understanding plays and understanding routes and understanding, blocking for his quarterback, for example, and which way to do that. You'll get a better understanding of the game. And he's, 7th grade, so he's got plenty of time to grow into his body and that takes him. So
there's a lot of kids out there that don't even start playing football until 7th grade.
Or even high school.
Yeah. But cool story, you know, you were talking about being on the mound and, you know, having that tough game. We actually went and watched a Shohei Ohtani pitch when he came to Detroit. It was one of those things. I told my wife, I was like, if he's pitching on one of these days, we're going. And she texted me, the game was on Sunday. She texted me Saturday at like 1 p.m. She was like, he's pitching tomorrow. The next text after that was, I got the tickets.
Yeah, that's good.
And then when we got there, he did not have a great game. You know, we went in there, I fully thought we were gonna lose and he was gonna just demolish us. And you know, Tanya and I talked, and it's like that's probably the best thing that could have happened, because now, you know, the kids can see that you can be one of the best people in the world and still have an off day. But you know what he's gonna do? He's gonna shake that off and he's gonna go get that next one. And that's how you need to kind of look at things.
Yeah,
It's all about the recovery.
they say short memory in sports. I think that's the same thing when you're setting goals. Like, learn from your lesson and move on. Like, don't let it drag you down. Don't let that setback drag you down into failure. You know, get your motivation, sulk for a second or so, but get back on the horse, you know.
Right. And I'm sure he's gonna be, you know, talking to his coaches and everything about it. Don't feel like you can't reach out to someone to help you out with something that you're struggling in. Like, if you need to talk to someone, talk to someone.
Yeah. I did find it very helpful one time. I hired a business coach to help me through some of that before. You know, sometimes you just got to reach out and have somebody guide you, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're on your own and you may feel like you don't have a lot of people to go to. It's always there's plenty of business coaches. There's undoubtedly dozens in any given city. So you can always find them. But the point is that, you know, sometimes you need a little bit of help and it's okay to ask for it. But that too goes back to Roland comment, and that takes self-discipline and motivation, inner motivation to just make that step. So yeah, I think it all boils down to, you know, keeping your goals in sight, keep moving forward, and have that discipline to do so.
Yeah. Know your, my friend told me once, playing ball, obviously we compare a lot of things sports. I hit the ball and I got a double, right? But before I got to 2, I probably could have went to 3. But before I got there, you hear him, he says, know your body. Just know your body, right? So and then that I stopped at 2, because as soon as he said that, he's like, oh man, my head said, you know what? If I do go for it, chances are I'm going to have to slide. I'm not built for that kind of.
Know your body.
He trying to push you though?
You know who it was? It was Gnome. It was Gnome.
He was trying to push you to go to 3 though?
No, he's trying to tell me the nice way to stay at 2. Know your body. I'll never forget it. But you know, that kind of that resonated with me through more than just that moment and that situation. It's you know, it's a metaphor for know yourself, right? Like if you, like, back to Rollins' comment, like when is enough? When you say stop is when you start losing the passion for the things that you're doing. Know yourself, man. Know your body. Know that going through the motions isn't going to get you where you want to go. Being passionate about it and finding passionate people to surround yourself with will help motivate you to move on to those next steps. Know your body. I'll never forget it.
That's kind of like what Jorge just said right here. We got a comment on LinkedIn. He said, not to stay stagnant doing the same thing, play with the new products, learn new things. You know, that can be motivation to keep you moving forward. But without, you know, doing the research and motivating yourself to try those new things, you're just going to stay in the same spot. So surround yourself with the people that are trying to build themselves up just like you are, and trying to learn those new things, and it'll help you self-motivate to push yourself even further. And I think that's those are some good words right there.
Yeah, that encompasses a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we're talking to you right now. I mean, we all have goals, and I mean, we went over there to your spot to ask you questions. I mean, you've been
Sure.
through a lot of the same stuff that we're going through now, and we appreciate everything that you said to us so far.
And you're very modest. Everyone who's listening, the gentleman right here is very modest. He is also very passionate about the industry, and he is leaving a mark as well. So it's just, we're just all making our own little marks on different sides of the country right now. Your mark is a lot bigger than ours, just to let you know. We appreciate any help and everything that you're doing with it.
Well, I think we're aligned in our passion for a lot of these things, and I look at it like you're not always, how do I say this? I'm not always looking for somebody that's bigger than me to motivate me or whatever. I find motivation in your guys's, and what I admire is your guys' dedication to growth, your dedication, and I'm talking personal growth and getting better. All those things are what continue to push you forward. I would say at the end of all of this, if anybody gets anything out of it, is, set your goals, the motivation side of it. It does take some personal motivation or some, self-discipline. But the other thing is, make sure you're pushing yourself. Sometimes you can get in these zones where you're doing things, but you're not really pushing yourself, and you'll see it at the end of a period. And I'm noticing it now because I haven't really been pushing myself on goals where the business kind of saying that is, if you're not growing, you're dying. And there's a lot of truth to that in business and personally, because even in my marriage, I've been married for 27 years. There's times where you're just kind of coasting along, and that's where you lose passion. That's when the passion gets lost, is when that you just kind of coast along. So you got to be cognizant of that. I've got to be cognizant of that in my personal life, say my marriage or my business, is try to continue to push the envelope and have that as your gauge. And it is each person's a little bit different, have their own, know your body type deal. That's true. I mean, like, it would be a bit ridiculous for me to think like I'm going to go build a rocket. Now, Elon did it. Can I do it? So the most motivational people in the world will tell you, oh, yes, you can. Well, I'm not saying I couldn't eventually, but I'm telling you, first check myself. Am I passionate? That to me is knowing your body. Am I passionate about that? You may be a great hitter and not a great runner. Know your body, right? You take your wins where you get them that match your talents. So I think the vision boards are another good thing that came out of this. It's cool you guys are doing that, by the way. That's awesome.
That's all baby sister. Credit goes to her.
Baby sister brought some cool stuff, because that's ultimate leadership.
She completed hers before she even told anyone what was going on. She was like, boom, here's mine. This is what you guys are doing. This is your homework.
She led by example.
Yep.
That's awesome. All right, guys. Well, we have come to the end of our time here. I want to thank both of you for joining me. I know this isn't like super flooring specific, but I don't think that any of us believe that this would always be, oh, what glue are you using? What trowel size? Like, these are things that will help you to think a little bit bigger, a little longer term, and then those trial size things kind of end up on your to-do list.
Right. Unless you guys want to do one of these episodes where that's all we do is give you one little schooling section on how to do this, 1 foot of flash cove.
Yeah. Those are, this whole time we've spent together on a weekly basis, I value, because it kind of remotivates me in a lot of ways reminds me of things that are important and kind of refocuses it, like when your camera is too close to something and it starts to focus and it finally focuses. It's that kind of a thing for me. So I really appreciate you guys joining every week, and you guys are awesome. And I really appreciate that your sister is doing that. That's cool that she's pushing other people to kind of chase their dreams and giving them sometimes you're giving someone else the power to chase their dreams, and that's what she's doing. And that's cool.
I think she's trying to have people realize that they do have a dream. That's, whether it's, doing flooring or not. I mean, you got to have something that you're looking forward to. Let's focus on that. And that can be your motivation on why you're here and doing this. I mean, everyone's got hobbies, right?
Yeah.
So take your passion from there and kind of translate it over here too, because this is what's supporting that hobby anyways.
You don't want anyone to feel stuck.
Yeah. Yep. All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks again. We'll be talking to you soon. And everybody else, we will see you next week. Please join us. And if you have any comments, feel free to open up the chat. Didn't have time to even look at if there was any chats. I don't believe.
I know we usually do it we usually do everything at the end, but I was kind of just throwing everything in there as it was coming too.
Yeah, that was good though. Awesome. All right, fellas, we'll have a good week and we will chat with you later.
All right. See
Bye,
ya.
everybody.